welcome to my channel. I'm Alexa. Today we're making dark chocolate chunk raspberry crumb muffins. I've measured out all my ingredients and I recommend that you do so too. You can find a full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared. I'm going to start off by making my crumb topping. To do this, I'm going to combine my sugar, flour, and cinnamon in a bowl. I'm going to combine my ingredients using a wire whisk. If you don't have a wire whisk, you can use a fork. This is to make sure my ingredients are homogeneous before I add in my butter. Now I'm going to add in my melted butter. As you can see, my butter is a little bit brown. That's okay because it'll add a little caramel flavor to it. If your butter cooks a little past melting, it'll become brown. As long as it doesn't become too dark and burnt tasting, it'll be usable in most recipes that call for melted butter. This recipe just calls for melted butter, so light or brown is okay. I'm going to mix this with my rubber spatula until it's all mixed together. It might look very wet, but that's how it's supposed to look. It'll dry out while we make our muffin batter. Next, I'm going to sift my flour and baking powder. This is to make sure there are no clumps. If you don't have a sifter, you can use a wire whisk or a fork. When you're sifting, you can push the ingredients through using a rubber spatula or a spoon, or you can tap the sides of it with your hands. Now that my ingredients have all fallen through, I'm going to tap the sides of my sifter so I can make sure no ingredients are stuck to its stand. If your sifter doesn't have a stand, you don't have to do this step. Next, I'm going to cream my butter. Creaming your butter means putting it in your mixer and letting it mix by itself so it loosens and becomes creamy. This will allow it to combine better with the rest of your ingredients. Some recipes tell you to cream your butter with your sugars, but I find that it combines better when you cream the butter first by itself. My butter is sticking to the bottom of my bowl, so I'm going to quickly scrape it off of there with my rubber spatula so my other ingredients will combine better with it. Sometimes it can be helpful to use a second rubber spatula to scrape the ingredients off of your first one. Now I'm going to add in my brown sugar and granulated sugar. I'm going to mix this for about 3 minutes until it becomes light in color and fluffy. My butter is a little clumpy, so I'm going to scrape down my bowl again. My batter looks really good, but I'm going to scrape down my bowl one more time to make sure no ingredients aren't mixed in. It looks great, so now I'm going to add in a third of my egg. If you end up pouring in a little extra, that's okay too. I'm going to mix until it's combined with my mixture. in another third of my egg. I'm going to scrape down my bowl again to make sure the ingredients are combining well. Now that my egg is mixed in, I'm going to add in the rest of it. Now that all my eggs are mixed in, I'm going to scrape down my bowl again so I can make sure my mixture is homogeneous. Next, I'm going to add in my milk. It's okay if when you add this, your batter starts to look kind of separated and gritty. Mine looks that way too right now, and that's normal. Now that my mixture looks fully combined, I'm going to add in my sifted dry ingredients from earlier. At this point, I'm going to start my mixer on the lowest setting to make sure that all the ingredients don't fly out of it. Since the dry ingredients are going up the side of my bowl, I'm going to scrape them back down. my batter looks perfect, so I'm going to move on to the next step. Next, I'm going to add in my chocolate chunks and my raspberries. I'm going to add in my chocolate chunks first because we want them to be fully mixed in and we don't want our raspberries to fall apart. I'm going to combine them using my rubber spatula. They look evenly mixed in, so now I'm going to add in my raspberries. Try to mix these in as carefully and quickly as possible, otherwise you might end up with bright red batter because the raspberries will have fallen apart. They will still taste the same, but I prefer it when my raspberries are still intact. Next, I'm going to measure out my muffins. To do this, I'm using a third of a cup ice cream scoop. You can also use a measuring cup if you'd prefer. Make sure to completely fill the scoop so the muffins will all be the same size. As you can see, now my crumb topping has solidified. Before I add it to my muffins, I'm going to crumble it with my hands. You don't want it to be completely crumbs, but you want there to be chunks so they fit on the muffins. Now I'm going to put the crumbs onto the muffins. After I do that, I'm going to press them into the muffins so they will bake into the muffins and not fall off. If there's a little extra in your bowl after pressing it onto all your muffins, you can press the rest onto your muffins as well. Next, I'm going to put my muffins into the oven. My oven's preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. My muffins took 27 minutes to bake. When they're done, the top should pop back up when you press your finger into them. Put them on a cooling rack so they can cool. And our dark chocolate chunk raspberry crumb muffins are done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and enjoy!